welcome back to the channel. If you can't tell, we are tearing down a 48 RE. We're going to continue tearing it down here, but we did come to a spot where we do have a problem. So if you guys look right here, we have a broken low reverse sprag. That is definitely going to cause some problems with that being broken. So we're going to have to get that replaced. Now this transmission came to us from my dad's friend up in Washington. I have that one, and then there's another one right here, and then we have another guy coming from Simi Valley to bring us a 48. So when it rains, it pours. I've had 3 or 4 tuning / hard part trucks. Now we're on to the transmission side of stuff, so it is what it is. But we are grateful. 102 degrees outside today, and it is a moderate 78, I think. We got it set to 68, but it's doing its best. But we're tearing down this. It just didn't move forward. Definitely burned up the converter. The converter's pretty much hammered. The fluid in here was disgusting. So we're going to continue tearing this apart. Got little man in here as well. I'm curious what his direct clutch and forward clutch looked like here. I would imagine, given how nasty all of this fluid and everything was, it was not good. Not good at all. But you know what they say, if you have a 48 RE, it's not a matter of if you have to see somebody like me, it's just a matter of when. And honestly, his forwards don't look that bad. Forwards, what a forward. I almost wonder if it was trans braking itself with the low reverse drum got hot as all get out. Direct clutch. Oh, there we go. Woo! Yes, sir. And you know it's only gonna get worse the further in he goes. Yikes. So did not hot spot the reaction plate. Cooked this steel. That side's all right. The lining's gone on this clutch. Absolutely hammered that steel. This clutch is pretty much gone. That clutch pretty much, or steel, smoked. Wow, it even started to get hot in the apply side. That is crazy. So we're gonna continue tearing this down. One thing I did find interesting, this was actually a Mopar transmission. There was a Mopar sticker. Maybe it's right here. So this guy got it from the dealer at one point. I don't know the whole story on this truck. Honestly, don't really care either. We're gonna get this guy fixed up the best we can. We got billet input shaft, triple disc converter, all the clutch mods. Jace is doing Jace things over there. Do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You know what that is?
Yeah.
What is it? Snap ring?
Snap ring.
Overdrive clutch brake snap ring. Say that 6 times fast.
Mail ordered.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In case you guys are curious, my son does love to organize. And his organizing and my organizing, a little different. But you know what? We're here for it. Get that thrown out of here. Yeah, that stuff is no bueno here. Stuff's cooked. Which is alright. We're going to get them all new stuff. New Belleville. Gonna have to replace his low reverse drum. All that funness. Oh, you got the brakes out? Dude! Look at you go. I'm assuming these are probably cooked. Getting cooked. Direct definitely took the brunt of it. Hold on, buddy. Let me help you out here. Okay, we're gonna come here. See how you got this steel stuck? Hold on. And then there's 2 snap rings in here because somebody put it back together like a 47 RE. So we're gonna get this all pulled apart, and then I'll show you guys the parts that are going in the rebuild. All right, folks, it is much later in the day. Kids have gone to bed, and now I get to put this back together. So this particular transmission, we're gonna do a little different. We're trying to save this guy a little bit of cash. We're still doing a triple disc converter. We got it from Power Driven, save the cost a little bit. He got a 12-volt flex plate that I already shipped up there to him. We have a Gorend economy input shaft, which is located right there. We also have one of our PDD valve bodies in here. Like I said, I've cleaned most of it. I still got to clean this last little bit, but all these parts are clean. That's clean. The case is outside. Currently just drying right there. So we got it all painted, primed, and everything. I'm going to get all this clean. We got his ring gears all welded up, and yeah, we're going to do a second gear servo, clutch pack. We're going to do +1 in the direct clutch. We're going to give him a new Belleville spring, which we have up there, and new gasket kit. And that should about seal the deal for this guy. And we'll do +1 in the overdrive as well. So I'm going to get to stacking this. I'm going to let my phone charge up a little bit, finish getting all this cleaned, and then I'll show you guys as we start to stack it back together. Again, this is nothing crazy. It's like a mild 650 build. Really, that Gorend shaft probably puts them at about 600, but this is a 06, 07 truck, tune only, and that's probably how it's going to stay. So, yep, let's get to work. And I forgot to mention, he also wiped out his pump, so we're going to put a different pump in. And his valve body's set at 175 PSI. We got everything kind of laid out. We're going to build some sub-assemblies. All of this is the overdrive. This is the input shaft assembly, also known as the forward clutch. Here we have the low reverse drum. And I just want to, if you're watching this, like, we scuffed up his drum. We're trying to save this guy money. Now, normally we build them a little different. They are a little more expensive. However, this is a good friend of my father's, so I'm going to make an exception. My dad has assured me that he will handle the install and a bunch of other stuff. So some of this looks a little different, or if you see me reusing a part that normally you think would get replaced, just know, like, there's a lot of things on these we're going to try to save this guy a little money on. For one, we're going to reuse his overdrive brakes. These ones, or overdrive applies. They look fantastic. We'll put new sprags in. His direct drum, I just basically scuffed up and trued up. We did weld his planetaries, or ring gears. We do this for strength and fluid retention. This is probably the best one I've ever welded. Usually they look more like this with all the contamination that gets in there. We did just brake clean this, that's why it looks weird. But this is a Gorend economy shaft. Like I said, about 600 horsepower. He's going to get all new clutches, friction, steels, all new gaskets, stuff like that. But again, if you're watching this video and you're like, I would have replaced that, you know, this guy isn't paying full price. So the one thing I would encourage you guys to do, no matter if you're trying to save money or not, he tore up a pump, so we're going to replace his stator. I keep machined stators on the shelf. We have them up here. I just basically work on an exchange service. So I think I charge, it's like 75 or 100 bucks to, like, put a different stator in. So I will take his stator out and true his up, and it'll go on the next one. So it's sitting right there. As long as they haven't been previously machined and they're thick enough, you can do this a couple of times. And like I said before, he's going to get a different pump. He did gouge the pump pretty good, and you guys can kind of see here, I already threw his pump away, but like, there is some deep scoring on this stator tube, like catch a fingernail, break a fingernail off scoring. And then you saw that broken sprag, his direct clutches were fried. So I would imagine there's a ton tore up in the converter too, because it like melted a couple of the seals for like the converter on that. Like, it's actually melted inside. And like his input shaft had some definite signs of overheating. So I don't know if it overheated because the converter was half applying. Maybe the valve body was a little weak. But essentially the sprag broke. It appears like the sprag, when I took it apart, the low reverse drum was like stuck on. So I would assume any gear except for first probably worked, but it didn't really want to move. It was definitely overheated. converter clutch is probably fried. The directs were fried. The low reverse band had to be replaced, and the drum are getting replaced because they had bad scoring. The overdrive piston support had some galling. I just grabbed a core intermediate shaft. For those of you guys that are trying to fix this, and yours isn't too bad, if you chuck the intermediate shaft into a drill and take some 800 grit sandpaper, that is how I essentially refurbish them. So we got a core intermediate going in here. His overdrive looked fine. The one thing, I gotta swap this, but you guys could see here, we had some big gouges in this wear plate. Now this wear plate gets replaced, and yeah. So now you guys are gonna watch me start stacking this together. Like I said, we're gonna work on the overdrive, get it all swapped out. We're gonna use some Sonex bearings here and get that all put together, dropped in. And then the only other thing, when you're checking your planetaries, these 48s have 6-pinion steel planets in the overdrive and the intermediate assembly. Pretty stout. You just kind of flip through them, checking to see if any teeth are missing, and then you want to make sure they spin nice and easy, and then they don't have too much up and down play, basically showing that it's eating into the little runners here. So it is a new day, new shirt. Last night we made it pretty far, but I was getting to the point where I didn't want to make a mistake, so we stopped while we were ahead. This morning, I had to tear down this Fire Pump Comp 1. I actually think it was probably a converter problem, but unfortunately that also wiped out the pump as well. So if you guys want content on this, drop it in the comments, but this is our next victim here. Gonna do a full reclutch, replace some of the plates in here, step plates that is, get his valve body tested, cleaned. He's gonna send his converter out, and yeah, so we'll have this. But to what we got done last night, I got the intermediate shaft. You guys saw me playing around with this stack up here. Again, the bushing, I don't know if I drove it in wrong or what, but man, I could not get that first bushing, so we popped it out, put another one in, now it fits. And then we got his forward drum built. This one, because it is such a heavy duty tow rig, he only had 5 clutches in here. Normally I do put 7. However, the way this guy is going to be using this truck, I have decided we're gonna just do 6. So we have a variety in here. We have some fixed and some thin clutches and a full thickness reaction plate, and we were able to sneak a 70,000 snap ring in here. I think this is going to serve him very, very well. Again, if this was like a more of a hot rod build, I do build these differently. Given the use of this truck, I think he'll benefit from having this full thickness reaction plate here. I had to go get a pump, just flat sanded the gears real quick, make sure they clean up nicely. So we got his new pump here, his new stator here, and now we're gonna build the rest of it. There's the rest of that 48 I tore apart there. I gotta clean it all. Here's all his clean parts. So we are going to get finished on here. I just wanted to give you guys an update, also let you know you're not crazy. I did change, and it is now the next day. So here's his case all painted. I do 2 coats, and then I'll do 1 more coat once it's all done. Makes it a lot cleaner, looks nicer on video. It's also easier to paint when everything's out of it. You're able to get into some spots better, especially where the valve body's at. So we will pull this up. I pressed his new overdrive together. We did go ahead, all new overdrive bearings, new overdrive snap ring. This is the snap ring here that you need to replace every time you're in a trans. Like, even on my own stuff, I always replace that. We got that all pressed together, and we're just gonna keep getting to work. I'm gonna throw the overdrive up on the bench here, put that together. Then we will start putting his servos, servo covers, all that stuff in there. We are putting a billet strut lever anchor in there for him. He had all stock stuff. I use the PDD stuff, works really well, haven't had any issues with it. So we have all of these PDD parts and a billet accumulator. Boy, that was a struggle trying to find the overdrive piston seal. I'm not sure where it went. I'm sure we'll find it at some point somewhere. Maybe Jace threw it away, but we had extras. We got this all slammed together. I was gonna try to save this guy some money with a stock servo, but man, I just did not have any with good enough shafts. So TCS billet servo, TCS billet accumulator, PDD lever, arm, strut, and we have his fresh pump, Goren input shaft, new low reverse sprag, drum, and band. You guys saw his welded planets. We got the end play all stacked up. We had 25 in the bottom, 32 up top, and we are good to go. We actually didn't fight us too bad. Something that may be helpful for you guys, or if you do this all the time, you probably already knew. What I've done is I start to measure all of the spacers that come out of the trans, and because this one didn't need any intermediate shaft or the intermediate selective spacer change, we were able to, I saw that it had 84 Mickey, so I dropped it down to a 62 Mickey. I put 100 on the pump, and by doing that, we had 50 something thousandths clearance. So what I did was, with that, all you do is pop the pump off, change the pump spacer. We ended up going with a 120 pump spacer, slammed it all back together. It stops you from having to pull the drum in and out. So I always do a little smaller on the Mickey. I don't really necessarily, like, there's a little bit more clearance here. You do have to be cognizant if you go like too crazy, the shaft can then, or the forwards can hit, but being that what this is, like, you're fine there. We're not even on the thinnest Mickey. We went like 68, I think is what it was, maybe 67, instead of the super thin, and then you have the thick 84. We did a 60 on the input, which is what they normally should. Normally, like, these transmissions, when they get built, you have like a 60 on the input, and then you have usually a 120 or 100 on the pump. You can go closer to the pump before you start changing the intermediate, but all of these end clearances, if you start in the overdrive and you get that wrong, and that is on page 135 and 134 of your ATSG, where it tells you this intermediate selective spacer, if you get this wrong, you will spend the entire transmission trying to get it fixed. This spacer here is more for overdrive application. So when the transmission shifts to overdrive, this timing matters. Over here, this, if you get this wrong, you're in for a wild ride. And you guys saw me check it both ways. I was checking the overdrive plate in the overdrive without anything bolted up. And if I have under 40 thousandths, by the time this all gets stacked together, you're going to usually end up like, I got 25. What happens with this is you need a case saver, which is this part right here. If you don't measure and it was sloppy, it's going to be sloppy, and you're going to end up having more end play in the rear than you do in the front. Now, on a four-wheel drive, it really doesn't matter all that much. That matters. So we will end this video off once I get it all painted and all cleaned up, and I'll show you guys. We still got to throw the valve body. I got to do the second gear band adjustment and everything, but I am not even gonna lie to you guys, I have been just slammed. We've had 4 or 5 trucks here for hard parts or tuning issues / truck issues. I had this transmission, I took another one apart, and I had to make sure I got this one enough together so that way I could take another one apart. And then when all that's done, we got this crusty thing that my dad sent me. It's gonna be a spare. I think I should charge him more just for how dirty this thing is. I mean, look, like, there's dirt caked up so high on the plug. The valve body, like, Dad, I know you watch these videos, like, a little pre-wash would be great, but it's all right. The bill will reflect the cleaning. Anyway, like this one. This one's not too bad. A little degreaser, she'll be good to go. This thing took 2.5 hours to clean. Sucked. But either way, again, we did +1 in the overdrive, +1 in direct with a thick reaction plate. And Ryan, if you're watching this video and you're nervous, It's not that we couldn't have done it a different way. I really want that thick reaction plate for the amount of weight that you're towing. This transmission is going to see a lot of heat. The other thing that you guys might not have caught, I did size the pump bushing. That is something I've started to do over the last couple of years, where you put the bushing into the pump, and then I have just random converters laying around. I spin it on there, and you basically take a 3-stone hone, brake hone, and open it up. You want about 5 to 6 thousandths feeler gauge jammed down, and it should still turn. So this is where we're at. We'll pick it up and I'll finish it off, you guys, once we get the valve body and the pan put on here, and we'll end the video. All right, a little air test action. So this first one's the cooler port, and then we have part of the input, other input, and then this is going to be your 3rd gear clutch. Sounds good. Low reverse. See how it stays. Holds nice. 2nd gear, I can't do yet because we got to put the adjustment nut in. But yeah, pretty cool. I can air test these. The 3rd gear is hard to get it to seal because it actually bottoms out on this lower part first. So it's hard to... And one thing I will tell you guys, if you feel like you maybe have a leak, something like that, what I recommend you do before you rip it apart, if you don't like the way it sounds, rotate it a little bit and then retest it. But remember, it is going to leak. These transmissions are one giant oil leak. Now, because we do lube mods, there are other leaks, and then we'll test the overdrive down here, but I need both my hands. So I'm gonna go ahead, put the 2nd gear band adjustment in and do that. Throw the valve body on it. I'll show you guys what it looks like with the pan. All right, valve body's in. Also, air test goes a lot better when all the pump bolts are in. So we got all the pump bolts in and torqued. We did put our valve body in, torqued. We do run a spacer. I'll die on this hill. If the pan comes with a spacer, run the dang spacer. In the event of lower fluid, this will move the filter down. It's a nice fail safe. A little bit of blue Loctite on the through bolts. These 2 Torx bits. Never had one back off. So yeah, now we're gonna throw this pan on and torque his pan bolts, and I'm gonna touch up the paint job, and that'll be it. And there she is, folks. Nice PPE pan. Did the touch-up paint. And all I gotta do is write the measurements on it and wrap it up with cellophane. Keep it clean, but that's a wrap. And that is also gonna be a wrap on the video. Again, hopefully you guys like this. This is like a modified, more of a budget 650. We were able to work on the price quite a bit for him. And yeah, I have a lot of faith in the install because he is installing it actually with my father. So that takes a little bit out of the equation. They're gonna put a new cooler on it, a bunch of stuff. So I hope this transmission serves him well. I hope you guys enjoyed the transmission content. It's been over a year since we've done one this in depth. So again, if you guys are building your own, if you have the ATSG manual, it will definitely help you. If you guys are interested in having me build it, again, I'm in Southern California. Freight trucks show up every day. I'm happy to get it turned around and back out to you, even if it's a repair. Like you guys saw that comp one out there. I work on anybody's transmissions at this point. I don't think there's a company that I haven't been in. And yeah, we can make it work with whatever you got. Give this one a big thumbs up. Drop your comments down below. Subscribe if you are not already. And as always, I will catch y'all on the next one.